Tim Johnson, the last Democrat to hold statewide office in South Dakota, has died. His family says he passed away last night as the result of a recent stroke he had suffered.
He was born in Canton and raised in Vermillion. His legacy of political service stretched more than 35 years, first in Pierre, then in Washington. And
tonight we take a look back at someone many agree was not just a politician, but a statesman.
Tim Johnson began his political career in Pierre from 1979 to 1986, first in the South Dakota House, then the South Dakota Senate. He served a decade in the U.S. House before running for the United States Senate in 1996, challenging Republican incumbent Larry Pressler.
He's fought cuts in Medicare and education, protected pensions, and stood up for our family producers.
I think that's consistent with what the best of South Dakota politics is all about. It's about our values, it's about our families, it's about our priorities, that we care about, things that make real differences in our lives.
Johnson might not have relished campaigning, but he was good at it. He was able to make easy conversation with voters, such as this grocery store in Groton, shaking hands and talking about the ideas.
Hi, Tim Johnson. You can't get away from politics no matter where you go this time of year, I guess, huh?
Yep.
Tim Johnson had an energy for the people of South Dakota. In the early 2000s, as a younger reporter, I spent a day with Senator Johnson to get a glimpse of how he handled his duties. I caught up with him at the Brown County Fairgrounds in Aberdeen, meeting with farmers concerned about how their operations would survive what was a long-term drought.
Our bill was never designed to address floods, droughts, earthquakes, tornadoes, and so on. We've always had to address those issues as they come. They're very unpredictable. Some years we'll have them, some years we don't.
After the stop in Aberdeen, we got on an airplane and went to Fort Pierre to talk market prices with livestock producers. Then it was on to Rapid City to see firsthand wildfire conditions in the Black Hills. All of that in one day. At the end of his first term in the U.S. Senate, he was challenged by South Dakota Congressman Republican John Thune, who was strongly backed by then-President George W. Bush, who visited Mount Rushmore on Thune's behalf. It was a race that touched on everything from forest management in the Black Hills to the economics of meatpacking in the Midwest to the ongoing war in Iraq, coming after the September 11th terror attack.
It's a matter of whose side are you on? And in that case, I'm proud to side with South Dakota families, middle-class families, as opposed to special interests in Washington.
Tim Johnson won that election in a historic nail-biter, just 524 votes separating Johnson from Thune. Johnson would head back to Washington for a second term. But just shy of 4 years later, Johnson's life would change. A stroke in December of 2006, a serious one, endangered his life, and many wondered if he would be able to return to public service. A little more than 8 months later, Tim Johnson, still recovering, told South Dakota he wasn't done.
Wow, you guys are a sight for sore eyes. It's good to be home in South Dakota.
Johnson would run for a third term the following year and win, and continue spearheading efforts to ensure South Dakota farmers were receiving the assistance they needed from Washington to not only survive but thrive. Johnson also continued his work of promoting the mission of and securing federal funding for the Lewis and Clark Regional Water System.
And that bill has $30 million worth of construction for Lewis and Clark.
And in 2013, when South Dakota was hit with a series of blizzards that decimated cattle herds statewide, Tim Johnson took to the floor of the United States Senate to tell his fellow lawmakers from bigger states why they needed to help him help South Dakota producers.
A young man east of Hermosa estimates he lost 30% of his 200 breeding cows. He found them all in one pile in a draw covered with snow.
Johnson's work in the Senate didn't just focus on farming and rural issues. Johnson, for a time, was the chair of the powerful Senate Banking Committee, which oversees banks, mass transit, housing, and urban development. At the end of his third term in the Senate, Tim Johnson decided it was time to set the lawmaking aside and retire from a post he most certainly loved. On December 11th of 2014, Johnson took to the Senate floor to say goodbye.
Finally, to the people of South Dakota, thank you for the honor and privilege of serving you in our state legislature, the House of Representatives, and the United States Senate. Thank you for working side by side with me to improve the lives of South Dakotans and our nation. P. Lama Ye. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
A funeral service will be held at 10:30 a.m. Friday, October 18th at Our Savior's Lutheran Church here in Sioux Falls. Senator Tim Johnson was 77 years old.
And flags across South Dakota at half-staff tonight as state lawmakers, public officials, and family remember the longtime senator. Flags will remain at half-staff until the day of Johnson's internment, which is yet to be announced.